City Times Sound presents Knights Community Roundtable, a chance for students of San Diego City College to engage with community members, college staff, and fellow students to discuss topics that matter to us all.
Welcome back to another edition of Knights Community Roundtable. I'm your host, Anh-Thu Ngo, bringing you unique voices from all walks of life, only on City Times Sound. Today I'm talking with Jamie Gold, who's enrolled here at SD City College. She's a fellow student in the course Audio Storytelling, led by instructor Jodina Scazzola. But beyond attending class, Jamie has had a full and prolific career as a journalist and author, specifically around home design and wellness. She is the author of 3 books and a regular contributor to Forbes.com. Jamie's latest book is Wellness by Design, out now from Simon & Schuster. Welcome, Jamie.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Can you tell us briefly what brought you to writing and journalism?
Well, some kids pick up musical instruments, and some kids dance, and some kids pick up paintbrushes. I picked up a pencil. I've been writing since I was as young as I can remember, but I never really pursued a career as a journalist. I wanted to use my writing. I got into working on the business side, the management side, and then realized I don't like management, so I moved into design, coming from a family that was always interested in that, and have worked in that field and started to use my talents as a writer to let people know what they should be thinking about when it came to their home projects.
You mentioned your family has a design background.
Well, my dad was always one to create beautiful crafts. He and my mother restored an 1800s Victorian in San Francisco.
Wow.
And I grew up with them, always creating things at home, always loving design. I would accompany my mom on shopping trips to Bloomingdale's famous home showrooms. So it's something I've always enjoyed, something I've always been around.
So why didn't you pursue, say, architecture school?
It never occurred to me. I went to school for journalism and then communication management, and I got into design after I decided that, again, management wasn't for me, and I wanted to pursue that creative passion, and started to write about it once I had gotten on-the-job training and knew a little something about how to create functional, beautiful spaces.
So the aesthetic aspect is there, but what about the wellness factor made it appealing for you?
I got into kitchen and bath design specifically, and those are 2 spaces that are very involved in people's health. If you think about it, the kitchen is your body's fueling station at home. It's where you prepare your nutrients. It's where you store your food. So there's always that focus on health. And of course, you want healthy indoor air quality in a kitchen. And then on the other side, you've got the bathroom, which is about hygiene and relaxation. So that's also about health. So my focus professionally was on 2 spaces that have so much to do with those 2 aspects of life. And after a while, I got more interested in my own health and how to make that as supported by my home environment as I could.
So nowadays, wellness is really a big buzzword that you hear in lots of places. But when did you start focusing on wellness in the home?
Well, again, it's part of every designer's requirements to follow codes for health and safety, which are, of course, part of wellness.
Right.
And there are many other aspects that you can choose to focus on. Aging in place would be one. Universal design would be another. Some designers like to look at feng shui, which is a more mystical aspect of wellness. So there's many different ways that you can come at it. Even now today, we're still learning and growing in that field, and designers are looking at neurodivergence and the relationship between space and people who are coming from different points along that spectrum, as well as, of course, designing for people who have hearing issues or vision challenges. So there's so much to learn and grow and evolve with.
Yeah. So now that makes me curious. What is your vision for an ideal home?
My vision for an ideal home is one that incorporates what I call the 5 facets of wellness design. And the first is health and fitness. So it's having a kitchen that makes it easy to prepare healthful meals in a healthful environment. And then spaces that make it easy to stay active and be active safely. And then after that, the second facet is safety and security. So a home that's a protective environment. And then accessibility, so that someone of any age or ability can use or visit that home and function there. And then the fourth one would be functionality. So a space that's low maintenance, for example. You don't have to spend all the time that you'd rather be out hiking, cleaning and maintaining and fixing things. And the fifth facet, which I think is everyone's favorite, is comfort and joy. So a space that really welcomes you and makes you feel relaxed and cozy and just enjoy being in that space. And a wellness home is going to incorporate those five facets and incorporate elements. And the more duality, the more facets that an object or a space incorporates, the more it's going to support the wellness of its occupants.
You talked about a lot of different aspects there. I'm curious about the kitchen space, for example, was the first thing that you mentioned. How do you set that up so that you're making healthful meals?
Well, kitchens are in some ways the most valuable real estate in a home, and it incorporates so many of the home systems. So the first thing to think about is the space. How many steps do you have to take to create a meal? Is your fresh food storage and your packaged food storage next to each other? Or are you walking across the kitchen each time to get the things? Are your pots and pans and utensils stored near where you'll be using them at the cooktop? Is the cooktop one that's going to contribute to indoor air quality or hurt indoor air quality? How is the kitchen ventilation? How is the lighting in the kitchen? Good lighting versus bad lighting is the difference between a julienne carrot and a julienne fingertip. So you definitely want that task lighting, and you want good feeling of brightness and light as well. So all of these different factors, all of the things that make a house an effective home come to play in that kitchen.
It sounds really great, but also it sounds like it might take a lot of resources. So how would somebody who is a layperson, not connected with the design world, how would they start on this journey of turning their home into a space that's more catered to wellness?
Well, one thing that anyone can do regardless of resources, and I have worked with clients who are young couples starting out, and I've worked with people who have accumulated, a position in life and resources. And I give the same advice. Start with the space that you have. Look at how well it's working for you and how it's falling short. Look at what you have before you start bringing anything else in. Start with the decluttering. Decluttering is free, and you have no idea until you've done it. And I don't say to people, start with your whole house. Start with one room. Even start with one wall in a kitchen. Maybe you're working on the cooktop wall to get rid of old utensils that aren't being used, that are not good condition. Maybe you're just decluttering one drawer. Start easily, but taking things out that you don't need anymore, that are getting in the way, that make it hard to find what you need, that is free and it's helpful to everyone. And it's a great starting point for any wellness project.
That's great advice. You also talked about something that intrigued me, which is joy, creating joy in your home. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, may I give you an example? I had a client who loved gardening, and we were working on her kitchen. And we created on her upper cabinets above the functional area, because you always want to keep your core workspace as functional and organized as you can. But above that, near the ceiling, were cabinets that had glass fronts, and we put her beautiful pottery collection in there to display. So whenever she was in the kitchen, she would see that. And then on the cabinet drawers and doors, the hardware was all botanical. So that when she would go into her space, she'd have that sense of joy about seeing her beautiful pottery collection. And every time she opened a door or a drawer, there were those beautiful botanically themed knobs for her. So that's just personalizing in a way that enhances the space and brings you delight when you're in it.
So it can be in the very little details.
Oh, absolutely.
That's really great advice. You also mentioned something, a phrase that we're hearing a lot, aging in place. Can you explain what that is and why it's important?
I will start by saying that nobody likes the A word. Nobody wants to think about getting older, but we do.
Right.
And we may not be as flexible as we were in our younger years. We may not be able to stand as long, on hard surfaces. But aging in place is creating a space that makes it possible to continue using happily and healthfully and safely as you get older and may experience some limitations. Now, what I say to clients is, rather than putting it into the aging conversation, I put it into the active person conversation. How do you feel after a vigorous game of tennis? Is your body sore? How do we accommodate that? For example, no one wants to be down on the floor with knee pads and a flashlight to get something out of the back of the cabinet that they haven't looked at in 10 years. So swing outs, rollouts that just make it easier to access things help with that aging in place. Consideration of your flooring surfaces. If you love tile, it's just great. It's an easy surface, but it can be very hard underfoot, as I discovered during holiday entertaining. So getting one of these anti-fatigue mats, which are now so much easier to find, they're everywhere. And putting that in your key spaces where you stand and work, that is going to just be more forgiving to your body. And it works at any age, but it's especially kind for those of us in our advanced years, shall we say.
Right. And then what about people with pets in their lives? How does that fit into the picture?
And so many people do. There's some crazy statistic about the number of people who have pets. And what you want to do is you want to create spaces for the pets to be healthy too, where they're not getting into trash, for example. They're not getting into the dishwasher. Their food bowls are in a way that isn't going to put them in the walk path for anyone, because people fall over pets if their bowls are improperly placed. Just as one example. So you want to be creating a wellness environment for the humans and the animals.
Right. And so you've given us a lot of words of wisdom, but in general, can you give us a breakdown of some resources that would ensure that one has a healthy home environment?
Curiosity is the starting point. And I have been since 2008 publishing a weekly design blog called Gold Notes, appropriately. And I will share resources in the blog every week that give links to articles on safety, on comfort, on storage, on winterizing your home, escaping a fire, all kinds of topics. And in my book, Wellness by Design, there's a resource section that lives online that I update when I can. So anyone who has a copy of the book can go to the resources section and find the web link and just start exploring.
Great. And to wrap up, I'm curious. We came to know each other in this class, audio storytelling, like I said before. So how does storytelling fit into this broader career trajectory of yours?
Well, I write books and I write articles and blog posts and I give presentations to live audiences. And this was simply the unconquered medium. During the pandemic, a social media app called Clubhouse got popular.
Right.
And I used that to do interviews on wellness design. And I had a tremendous time hosting the interviews. And my guests were always willing to come back for seconds and even third interviews. And it was so fascinating doing it that I thought, I need to learn more about how to do this. And this class came up and I said, it's perfect. And I'm glad to be here with folks like yourself.
Well, we have been talking here with Jamie Gold on KCRT, Knights Community Roundtable. I appreciate your time, Jamie, and thank you for bringing attention to this very important topic of wellness in your home environment.
My pleasure. Thank you. And if folks want to find that blog, it's at jamiegold.net.
This is Anh-Thu Ngo, and I hope you join us again soon for more compelling stories on Knights Community Roundtable.
Knights Community Roundtable is brought to you by the students of City Times Sound, a partner of City Times Media, award-winning student-produced digital news, TV news, magazine, radio, podcast, and indie film, all on one platform at San Diego City College. City Times Media offers hand-on experience for students using new and emerging technologies and state-of-the-art facilities. To learn more, visit sdcitytimes.com.